Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We'll be back with today's guest, but as always, we're going to give a shout out to our sponsors. Now, don't hit that fast forward button. These are all companies I used as an athletic director. They're all great companies. I highly recommend you check them out. So take 3 minutes, listen to our shout outs, then listen to our interview, then go and visit these sponsors. I'm telling you, you're going to be glad you did. Here we go. We want to say thanks to Vital Signs Wall of Fame for their support. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school record boards for all the teams, for all their different events, or a cool way to show off your school's Hall of Fame, go to Vital Signs Wall of Fame and take a look at their interactive touch screen video consoles. They're also a great way to share your school's unique history and brag about your proudest moments. The website is vitalsignswalloffame.com. Check them out today. We also want to say thank you to Gipper. You know, your students are on social media, and if they're not seeing content that celebrates their accomplishments and promotes your program, you're missing out on a great opportunity. Go to Gipper.com. It's used and trusted by over 20,000 high school and college programs across the country. And their team is going to have you creating world-class content in seconds. Maybe it'll be a social media post. Maybe it'll be a full newsletter to talk about all the great things your program does. Either way, go to Gipper.com. Don't forget to mention the podcast. That's Gipper.com. We'd like to thank Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and you can schedule a live web demo to see their score tables and their score boards in action. Probably one of the best purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Schedule that live web demo today. We also want to say thanks to our good friends at Home Campus. You've heard me say before, Home Campus is a platform that you're going to use every single day. Things like scheduling, rosters, results. Their student athlete eligibility and clearance platform alone is worth the price. Go to homecampus.com to get started. That's it. Don't forget to mention the podcast. Homecampus.com. We also want to thank our good friends at Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years. As an athletic director, I made sure our school was a Huddle school, and our coaches just loved the tools that Huddle provided. Our student athletes loved the videos, and our parents loved the streaming, but there is so much more. Join the 8 million users. Go to huddle.com. Turn your school into a Huddle school. We'd like to thank Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. Now, I didn't get my master's from Ohio University, but my assistant athletic director did, along with hundreds of others, and it was a great experience. It's very affordable, just 20 months, totally online. And while you're earning your master's degree, you're also completing 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. To find out more information, just go to ohio.edu/info/MAA, the Ohio University Online Masters in Athletic Administration. We'd like to thank Snap Raise for their support. Have you ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and been disappointed in the results? Well, those days are gone. Go to snapraise.com. It's hands down the best online fundraiser out there. We used it at our school with great success. Our coaches loved it. Our parents loved it because it works. Go to snapraise.com. You can check out their other great platforms, but if you're looking for a fundraiser, you just found it. It's snapraise.com. We want to say thank you to our friends at Hometown Ticketing. Hometown's the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. And whether it's more support or more security, even more customization, the Hometown team is here to help you make the best online ticketing solutions. Go to hometownticketing.com. Don't forget to mention the podcast. It's digital ticketing that offers more. And we want to thank Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. Athletic directors already get feedback, but a lot of times it's from a very small group that only wants to complain. Athletic surveys will connect you with that group so you can hear their concerns, but they're also going to connect you to the 98% of your stakeholders who support your program. And having that information, that data, is incredibly valuable, especially when you're meeting with a frustrated parent, or maybe your principal, or even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We're staying on the East Coast. I think we're going to be in Maryland, but we're going to be visiting today with Maddie Hommey. Maddie's got a great background in athletics. Unlike me at the end of my career, she's just at the start of her career. She's got so many possibilities. She was a college athlete. She works currently at Longwood University in their marketing and recruitment department. We're going to hear about that. She's also an NCAA soccer official, and we're going to be talking about that later on. But Maddie Hommey, welcome to the Educational AD Podcast.
Thanks, Jake. Thanks for having me.
Well, you and I were talking before. It's a busy time for all of us. Let's go ahead and jump right in. We always like to let our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So give us that quick bio, where you were born, where you grew up. Maybe just take us up through your high school years, and then we'll take a break. But what's your origin story?
So my origin story, I actually grew up on a farm in Woodsboro, Maryland, just outside of Frederick, small town area. I was fortunate to grow up with my whole family here. It's my grandparents' land, and we've got aunts and uncles and cousins all around. So lots of people to play with and just enjoy the time. It's always fun to walk across the field for your holiday and you're already over there. But I played soccer and basketball throughout my entire life. I did the dance thing when I was little, I guess, but soccer was the sport that really carried me through. I went to Walkersville High School in Walkersville, Maryland. Again, a small town school just outside of the farmland, and had a great career there. Really enjoyed my time and ended up receiving a scholarship to play Division I soccer at Longwood University.
All right, I want to dive into that small town farm experience. For my high school years, we lived way out in the country, about way for me, 10 miles out in the country. It wasn't on a farm, but it was on big acreage surrounded by farms. And so it was that long drive into the high school. What was your experience like? Were you way out in the sticks or were you close to town? How'd that work out for games and practices, as well as those farm chores? I'm sure those factored in.
Sure. Yeah. My dad always said I was farm strong. I didn't always look it, but I could get something done if I needed to. Fortunately, I also got out of some of the work. I had really bad allergies growing up. So, the hay and all of that, sometimes I had a little out from helping out too much. But, the drive wasn't too bad. It was about 15 minutes to get to the high school. So pretty easy drive, not very far at all. And I was able to be super involved in that. I played club soccer my entire high school career as well in Frederick. So sometimes driving a little bit farther for that was a bigger thing. But for high school, it really wasn't far at all. And it was a tight knit community. Just half of it was the Woodsboro side where I was on the farm, and the rest got closer to Frederick and the city life. So it was a unique melting pot, honestly.
Now, you mentioned basketball and soccer, and then you also mentioned club soccer. Was there any kind of tug of war between coaches? Maddie, you need to give up that soccer and focus on basketball, or the other way around. Was that a thing for you?
It was never easy. I knew I wanted to play college soccer. Basketball was something that I really enjoyed, and it was a little bit more of a social sport for me. And so I had friends. I even considered not continuing to play basketball, but I had a couple of friends who were a year older than me, and they're like, "Come on, it's our senior year. You got to keep playing." So, of course, I stuck it out, and by that point, it was okay. I'm a senior now. What's one more year? I might as well finish off my career. So I did, and I'm really glad that I did, but I did have to balance the fact that soccer was my future. And so I was very upfront with my coach each year. I said, hey, look, here are the tournaments that I need to be at over the winter because they are recruiting events. This is where I have opportunities to go see coaches. I need to be there with my team. And I knew that there could be consequences with that of, okay, hey, you're not starting the next game, or hey, you need to, do a little extra time. And that was part of the sacrifice to be able to play club soccer and then go on in the future and play college soccer. So I accepted that and fortunately had a pretty good relationship with my basketball coach that he understood that and kind of just dealt with it how he needed to. And I respected and understood that as well.
That is just so cool to hear. I think we hear the opposite end of the spectrum. Those get the headlines, the parents and coaches and kids, and the kids in the middle, obviously. But it's so great that you were responsible enough to go in ahead of time, say, here's the dates, here's the schedules. As to the opposite end of that, the night before, hey coach, I'm not going to be at the big rivalry game tomorrow. I'm going to be at a tournament. Yeah, no, good for you. Good for your coaches for making that work out. How you were recruited and signed a D1 offer, and by your own words, coming from a small town, small program, um, how how much was that experience, the high school experience, in your words, do you think that was a factor in developing your game and being recruited?
I will say high school soccer itself, I went to a school where I was in eighth grade and I'm watching the high school girls soccer team play and they were losing 10-0, 12-0, 11-0. And I'm like, oh boy, this is going to be a fun high school soccer career. But I was really lucky to improve each year. I think by my sophomore, junior year of high school, we had winning seasons, which is phenomenal to go from that big turnaround. Freshman year was a little rough still, but we got there. I had one of my really good friends who played club soccer with me actually moved into the area going into junior year. You get lucky with some help like that, makes
Yep.
a big difference. But my high school certainly was not going to get me recruited to play college soccer. So it was an opportunity to develop my leadership skills to, again, it is a social sport. There is that. But I was really able to honestly step back and have to learn like, I'm a pretty humble person, but I will say I was one of the better individuals on my high school team coming from that club experience. And so I had to figure out how to navigate my expectations with players who maybe high school soccer is their whole life. They're not playing club soccer, they go on and play college. And so that was a really big developmental process for me. And I think that made me a more marketable recruit from a college experience and also just helped me be successful in my college career and in life in general.
Boy, you really hit it right on the head about all the benefits of playing for a high school team. Whether it's soccer, volleyball, basketball, you name it. Those leadership opportunities, the challenges, the hardships that might be there in a team that has its own talent, that homegrown talent, and not recruited, shopped talent like a club is. And it's not right, wrong, good, or bad. It's just that's the way it is. But it was so great that you could see that success, be a part of that success, and have what, I think our listeners right now, our ADs are just, clapping their hands, having a positive high school experience. That's what we're trying to do. Very cool stuff. Let's go and take our first break. For our listeners, we're visiting today with Maddie Hommey. She is an assistant director of marketing and recruitment for Longwood University, also an NCAA soccer official. We're going to hear about all those things and more, so please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to thank our good friends at Vital Signs Wall of Fame for their support of the podcast. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school record boards for all the teams, for all the different events, or show off your school's Hall of Fame, go to Vital Signs Wall of Fame and check out their interactive touch screen. That's right, touch screen video consoles. They're also a great way to share your school's unique history and brag a little bit about your proudest moments. The website is Vital Signs Wall of Fame. Don't forget to mention the podcast, vitalsignswalloffame.com. We also want to thank our friends at Gipper. Your students are on social media. And if they're not seeing content that celebrates their accomplishments and promotes your program, you're missing out on a great opportunity. Go to Gipper.com. It's used and trusted by over 20,000 high school and college athletic departments. It's professional graphic design made easy. How easy? Well, it's so easy, even I can do it. Go to Gipper.com. Find out all the ways that they can help you promote your program. That's Gipper.com. Welcome back to the Educational AD Podcast. Maddie, you took us through your journey through small town farm living. We didn't hear a lot about that, but your soccer experience at the high school and at the club level that allowed you to be recruited to play Division I at Longwood University. Maybe real quickly, take us through that recruiting process, and then let's hear about your experience coming in. I want to know, were you that hotshot freshman, or were you the big fish in a small pond? But tell us about the recruiting experience first.
So my recruiting experience was pretty smooth. It's funny, I always thought I was going to be the one who went north, and my brother was interested in going south. He wanted to be warm and on a beach, and I like the winter. I like playing in the cold and was not a fan of the heat. And somehow I ended up in Farmville, Virginia, where we reported on August 1st every day or every year, and it's, 90, 100 degrees. But I had a phenomenal experience. So my club team all throughout high school, we would go to showcases in Pennsylvania, Virginia, New Jersey, Maryland, all the places around here. And I was fortunate to be able to be seen by the coaches at Longwood University. Saw me play a couple times. I remember one game in particular. I think I scored a goal with my left foot, and I am not a major ball striker, certainly not with my left foot. So they were there on a good day. But I also attended an ID camp there once or twice. I think I went and was able to be there right in front of them. I just felt at home. And Longwood is such a special place. I mean, I still work there. I'm still super connected. I've made the most meaningful connections and relationships, but it all started with the coaches. They are genuine individuals. They're authentic. They love what they do. They love Longwood. And I felt that as soon as I stepped on campus. And so I just kind of knew, like, I'm going to end up here the first time I was there. But I did look some other places. I really thought I was going to end up at a PSAC school in Pennsylvania, some D2 schools there, and I would have been really happy. I visited a lot of them, but the offer did come through after attending, I think, my second ID camp at Longwood, and I went and did my official visit. And again, I just knew right away that that was where I wanted to be.
Well, I can just see those coaches up in the stands, with their note cards. Oh God, left foot, left foot. And what you mentioned about, the coaches and feeling that the fit that we always talk about, it's amazing how many coaches, how many schools don't understand. That's
Mhm.
really important. You need to work on that.
It is.
All right, you're on campus doing those drills. Season's getting ready to start that freshman year. How is it all unfolding for you?
I had a phenomenal freshman year. I was really lucky. I did work hard for it. I would be lying if I said I didn't. I came in and I passed all four of our fitness tests. I think I was the only freshman to do so and one of only a handful on the team to do so. And my coach's philosophy at preseason time is typically fitness gets you on the field, soccer keeps you on it. And so I came in fit, I came in ready to go. I earned a spot to, start a couple games early on in exhibitions. And I guess my soccer was good enough to keep me on the field. I think I maybe started all but one game my freshman year, where I think he was still figuring out, maybe was mad at me for something one game, decided I needed to come off the bench one, see how it went. But I also was fortunate to have a senior who I was playing in the midfield with, who was a huge advocate of mine. And she wanted to play with me. I wanted to play with her. So I was really lucky that she had my back and was excited to kind of take me under her wing. And I learned a lot from her as well. But all in all, I would say it was really coming in fit as a freshman and passing those fitness tests. I stood out and I earned myself a spot.
Yeah, just another great lesson for anybody listening is that, and you mentioned you worked for it, but that fitness coaches love that when athletes come in and they're fit. I can just imagine again that coaching staff. Wow, Maddie? Huh? Yeah. Wow, that's great stuff. Um, as you were progressing through your college career, you weren't just there as a athlete, with that big NIL deal. You were also a student. Um, how did your undergrad experience, both athletically and academically, how did that get on the path that puts you into, the marketing and the social media that you're doing now at Longwood, where you went to college?
So I honestly don't think I would be where I am today if I had not torn my ACL. I was injured going into my sophomore year. Unfortunately, tore it in summer league at home, trying to get ready for the next year. So certainly not fun. It was a grueling process and a taxing year. It's not easy. I don't wish that upon anyone. But I came back my junior year from that and was able to continue to have a successful career. But again, I think the first thing when I called my coach and let him know that I was going to be out for a while was, all right, so you're staying for a fifth year. And I started looking at a master's degree. And so I was fortunate to be in education undergrad. And I had already been a little bit interested in doing my health and physical education master's degree at Longwood because it was a fully online plus 1 year program. But I was a little bit back and forth. And I think having the injury year and being able to redshirt kind of solidified this is what I'm going to do. And so I stayed for a fifth year, got my master's degree in a year, and I worked as a graduate assistant on campus for Longwood's graduate college in marketing and recruitment. And I think they really liked me. I guess they kept me around. So I was really lucky that really propelled me into kind of my career and where I am today. I am still in a similar position. I'm now the assistant director of marketing for the graduate college, but I really wouldn't have been there and I wouldn't have been a GA for them if it weren't for my injury and that whole process.
Okay, we're going to talk about the whole marketing recruitment thing, but you mentioned something that I don't know if you noticed, my eyes popped. You said that you had a health and physical education degree path. I didn't even know that existed anymore. That was when I was in college 100 years ago. That's all we had. If you wanted to coach, you were a PE major, and I picked up that health endorsement, which got me hired at like three different schools because you had to teach
Yep.
health in that state. I thought it was all sports management and athletic science and all this other stuff. There still is a health PE major out there.
There still is, and it was a good one to be a part of. Like I said, it was a fully online program, and I did it in a year, and was able to work and finish out my soccer career while I was at it. So it was great.
All right, you just became you just raised yourself to friend of the show status with that
Right.
PE major thing. There's no extra money, but it's very you can put that on your resume. Soccer question. You had the ACL. Were you able to come back? Were you still playing at a high level? How did that all work out? I'm curious.
I was able to come back and I was still playing at a high level. I had to wear, one of those big giant braces for the season I came back, my junior year, I guess that was. And then unfortunately, senior year was COVID and it felt different. And so I always say I think I would have peaked sophomore year, but I was hurt. But no, I had a great career still, and it was a wonderful experience. Unfortunately, as a team, my freshman year was our best season. We lost in the championship of the Big South Conference and never quite got there again. But like I said, it was just that's the ebbs and flows of sports and teams. You have injuries, you have players graduating, you have COVID hitting, and you make the most of what you can do. But we still had great seasons each year, just a little bit different. And I do think, you always wonder what if, but at the end of the day, I'm still so thankful for the experience I had. I think I came back and still started every single game of my career after that, I'm pretty sure. Um, I know at one point in time when I was graduating the second time for good, I think my dad looked up the stats and I played over 500 minutes or something like that for Longwood, which was one of the top. So it was definitely a phenomenal career that I had.
Oh, wow, that's great. And again, for our listeners, they just love to hear that. Well, yeah, we didn't win the championship, but it was a great experience, a great experience. That's what any AD, any coach wants to hear. Yeah, we want to win, but did they have a good experience? Very cool. We're going to go ahead and take another break, but we are going to come back with more. Once again, our guest is Maddie Hommey, athlete, marketer, official, and probably a lot of other things too. So please stay with us. We're coming back. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We also want to say thanks to Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and you can schedule a live web demo to see their score tables and their score boards in action. Probably one of the best purchases I ever made as an athletic director was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Once again, don't forget to mention the podcast, sidelineinteractive.com. We want to thank Home Campus for all they do. Home Campus is a platform that you're going to use every single day, whether it's scheduling, rosters, results, communication. Their student athletic, their student athletic eligibility and clearance platform alone is worth the price. To get more information, to get signed up, all you have to do is go to homecampus.com. That's it, homecampus.com. We also want to thank our friends at Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years. When I became an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school. And our coaches, all of our coaches, just loved the tools that Huddle provided. The student athletes love the videos, big surprise. Our parents love the streaming, but there is so much more. Go to huddle.com, join the 8 million users, and find out how you can turn your school into a Huddle school. That's huddle.com. Welcome back, everybody, to the Educational AD Podcast. Maddie, you shared in the previous segment, you had a great soccer experience, great college experience at Longwood, and it was so great you even stayed on, and now you're their assistant director of marketing and recruitment. What's involved in that? And for our listeners, I'm going to ask Maddie to share some marketing media tips that we as athletic directors might be able to incorporate in our job. So, Maddie, Longwood University, how do you market it?
So I specifically help with marketing for the graduate college. So it's a little bit different and the target audience is different. We're looking at undergrads who are getting ready to graduate, but hey, we have a grad program that could be for you. Or, you know, individuals who are further along into their career, but they want to switch careers or they want to advance their career. And so coming back and getting a graduate degree, a graduate endorsement, and some other professional development opportunities. So it does look a little bit different. It's not targeting maybe the sports world as much, but I do have that experience as well. I'm fortunate to be able to do social media and marketing for the soccer club that I played for growing up. And that obviously means a lot to me. And I think I've learned a lot and done a lot in that experience that can translate to an athletic director at any level. I'd say one major tip I have is kids want to see themselves. That's the big thing. And some, maybe are not as out there as others, but they still feel a lot of pride and joy in seeing themselves. I just this weekend was we call it the Turkey Cup. It's a little 5v5 soccer tournament weekend after Thanksgiving. And there were some kids playing as a team and they won their division and they come running over because they saw me interviewing some other people and they're like, we want to do an interview because they wanted to see themselves on our Instagram page, on our Facebook and all that kind of stuff. So it does give that opportunity. But I've been doing that for a couple years now and really took FC Frederick, the soccer club's social media from maybe a post or two or three a month to we're posting 5 to 7 times a week, if not multiple times a day, if there's a lot to share. And I've really seen that grow and it's been really cool. And just kind of the difference in the youth soccer level versus marketing for Longwood's graduate college. I get a lot of different scenes and a lot of different people that I get to work with and share their stories and the unique opportunities that they've had and kind of give back to both of those organizations that gave a lot to me.
Now, you, you talk about, the target audience and, how you're crafting that social media. Um, I think athletic directors, they're always, and I think they wonder, is anybody looking at this? What's a good way to, I guess, elicit feedback? Is it just through posts and people come up and say, "Hey, I saw, Billy," or "I saw Mary's soccer game on it," or is there something you do specifically to, I guess, solicit feedback?
I guess I do a lot. Sometimes it's trying to be face to face with people and having conversations. And I'm very plugged into the FC Frederick community as well. My dad works full time for the soccer club. And so he'll even have people who know I'm his daughter who does social media for them say, like, hey, it's really great. I love seeing this stuff. And there's that kind of face to face feedback. But on the flip of that, it is analytics and checking how's our Facebook doing? How's our Instagram? How's Twitter or X, not Twitter, and TikTok and all those different platforms and kind of paying attention to, you know, we see a lot of parents and fans on Facebook, but on TikTok, it's the kids themselves. And so it's navigating, does the posting on each of those platforms look different? And so I do use analytics and to kind of check that either directly on the app or using scheduling platforms such as Hootsuite and CoSchedule. There's some different ones that you could use to go ahead and push that information out there. Obviously, it's not realistic for me to every day at 9 a.m. make a post and be ready to go. And so being able to schedule 5, 10 posts or a month ahead of time, and then I don't have to, touch it for a little bit. They're ready to go is really helpful. So some of those platforms can do that and can also track the analytics on that side to see how they're performing.
Yeah, we've had a number of ADs, just real athletic directors that have come on our tech segments, and they've talked about platforms like Hootsuite, and I'll get and they'll get feedback from listeners saying, "Oh, I can't believe how easy this is," and
Yeah.
thanks for I guess validating from the professional end of it, what our athletic directors have found. Um, how much of this job that you're doing did you have to create? Was it already there and just these are my words, just kind of limping along and you raised their game, or was it already, a finely tuned social media machine?
So for FC Frederick, I definitely had to kind of create that and figure out what it looks like. And so when I started doing it, it was just kind of, coaches or some individuals working for the club or their kids who also grew up playing in the club. When they had time, they'd post a little bit here and there, but nothing consistent and nothing maybe super meaningful. And so when I started out, it was like, okay, we have a soccer club with teams from 5 year olds to 18 year olds. And we have summer league teams that are college players coming back. We have uh, a bunch of different programs within that. We have summer camps, we have winter camps, and futsal that happens. It's basically indoor soccer. But all of these things, and it's like, okay, how am I going to grow this? What is this social media going to even look like? And so I had to start from a little bit of nothing and go out and do the work and show up at practices and show up at games and have photos and text coaches, email coaches, hey, send me a picture of what you got going on. And I now receive emails, text messages on Instagram, Facebook all the time of just photos with maybe a little caption of this is our 2010 girls team or whatever it may be. And so I really did have to grow that to a point where now I have too much to post, which is a good problem to have. But again, like I said, people really want to see themselves and they want to see their children represented if it's a parent. And so just once I kind of got boots on the ground and started doing the work, it's a lot easier now. I don't have to be there. People send me everything. It makes my job easy. I just show up and post it.
And that's a great lesson for our listeners is, you need to let your coaches know, the student athletes know, to send you content and then you can get it up there. Or better yet, find that young coach that has some extra time on their hands and maybe is a little more social media savvy than you and empower them. Make them your social media or marketing director. Maddie, we're going to do this at the end of the podcast, but if one of our listeners wanted to reach out, pick your brain a little bit, or maybe even find out about more about Longwood, what's the best way they can get a hold of you?
They could email me anytime. It's Madison Hommey, Hommey, at gmail.com. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on social media, typically just Maddie Hommey, Maddie, and that same last name. So really anywhere. I'm on almost all the platforms, so I should be out there.
All right. Well, again, we'll give that out at the end of the podcast. We're going to take another break. I know that's shocking for our regular listeners, but when we come back, I'm going to ask Maddie to share another part of her life as an NCAA soccer official. Interested to hear, about her experiences in that venue. Let's take that break, but we're coming back. This is the Educational Lady Podcast. We want to say thanks to Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. Now, I didn't get my master's from Ohio University, but my assistant athletic director did, along with hundreds of others, and it was a great experience. It's very affordable, just 20 months, totally online. And while you're completing your master's degree, you're also completing 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. To get started, all you have to do is go to ohio.edu/info/MAA, the Ohio University Online Masters in Athletic Administration. We want to thank our good friends at Snap Raise. Have you ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and then been disappointed in the results? Well, those days are gone. Go to snapraise.com. It's hands down the best online fundraiser out there. We used it at our school with great success. Our coaches loved it. Our parents loved it because it works. Go to snapraise.com. You can check out their other great platforms. But if you're looking for a fundraiser, you just found it. Go to snapraise.com. You're going to be very glad you did. We also want to thank Hometown Ticketing. Hometown is the leading digital ticketing provider for schools and colleges. And whether it's more support, more security, or more customization, the Hometown team is going to help you make the best online ticketing solution. Go to hometownticketing.com. It's digital ticketing that offers more. Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the Educational Lady Podcast. Our guest today is Madison Hommey. Madison, you've shared your soccer career. You've shared, your social media, marketing and recruitment for Longwood University. But there's another aspect I'm excited to hear about, and that is you are an official at the NCAA level for women's soccer. How did that all happen?
So I started reffing when I was young, maybe 14. I don't think I could drive when I started. You go through the class to become an official, and my mom's driving me and dropping me off at games. So I don't know how productive that is from a making money standpoint if she's driving me anyway. But it was a good experience, and I started really early. So I was able to really develop as a referee and learn a lot. I unfortunately started out in an area where I think the commitment to referee development is not as, or it wasn't as developed as some other places. And I've seen that now experiencing some different locations, but I think it's come a long way. And in the last couple of years, people are really kind of committing to officiating, the development of young people in that, and also the respect and expectations of fans to deal with referees. And so I did a lot of youth games. I did some club games in the Frederick and surrounding areas. DC is not too far from me, so there's a lot of soccer to be played. The Maryland Sportsplex in Germantown has huge tournaments each year, and Columbia, Maryland. So I did a lot of games. I remember some tournament weekends where I'd maybe do 8 games back-to-back days and just really go crazy for a little bit. I don't think I could do that anymore, but at the time I did, and I learned a lot from it. I never put myself in situations where I thought it was going to be too much for me, and I think that's a problem that maybe some younger refs have is they become an official and maybe they can go in and self-assign themselves, and they're like, yeah, let's do this U18 super competitive game, and I'm 16 years old. And so there is a balance, and that's what I mean with referee development, that you need to have a little bit of guidance and, hey, you're not ready for this game yet. So I was able to get to a point where now I can do those games comfortably. I didn't ref too much while in college just because I was playing. And so it was hard to also officiate while I had my playing career going on. But I would come home in November for those big tournaments every year, and then in May and do some games until the spring seasons would wrap up, and occasionally some stuff in the summer. But once I finally finished my soccer career, I got into high school games that following spring. Once I no longer had a spring soccer season to play for myself, I was in Virginia. And so Virginia soccer is in the spring for high school. And I was super excited to kind of have that different atmosphere. High school is very different than the youth side of things. I did high school for a season in middle of nowhere, Farmville, Virginia, and then for I think 2 seasons in Lynchburg, Virginia area. And while in Lynchburg, the referee development and education is really awesome. And so I had kind of a mentor that poured into me, a lot of other refs in the area who were well developed and contributed to my development as well, and pushed me a little bit. I saw some of them doing college games, and I was like, hey, I'm kind of interested in that. And so I you know, reach out to some people. There's a little bit of a process you have to follow in terms of having assessments done and taking your test and attending a clinic and passing your fitness test and all those parts of it. But I was able to officiate last fall for some Virginia college games, mostly at the Division III level, maybe all at the Division III level, I think. ODAC games, a lot of them were, but it was a really phenomenal experience. And I didn't this past year just for personal and life reasons, but I look forward to getting back into it in the future.
Boy, that is so cool. And I've got a dozen different questions I want to ask. Most of the listeners know I officiate high school basketball for a number of years. I still do track. Um, for you, okay, and again, you're a young official, okay? There's nothing wrong with that. I'm going to guess you probably came across a coach or two at the youth, high school, or the college level that thinks that they're just going to, for lack of a better word, intimidate this young official. Did anybody ever try to do that? And how did you, let's say, manage that?
Absolutely, they did. Now, I was actually pretty lucky. I don't feel like I experienced that until I was maybe already graduated from college. So I hopefully had a little bit more maturity and sense about myself to handle situations. Um, but when I was a little bit younger, like I said, I think I was smart enough to not put myself in a situation where somebody could try to take advantage of me. But especially at the high school level, you see there's a lot of passion out there. There's some very dedicated coaches, teams, and parents. The ironic thing is sometimes the parents are worse than the coaches that I've noticed, and it tends to be a lack of education. And so for me, I think I handle a lot of those situations just by knowing that I know what I'm doing. I made the right call. And yes, I'm going to make mistakes. I'm not perfect. I will be the first to tell a coach that, but to have compassion and understanding that you're not making every single correct decision either. You're going to make mistakes. And just being able to back up what I'm doing. I feel like I'm pretty knowledgeable about the game of soccer. I played my entire career. I stay up to date on law changes in the soccer world and make sure that if I'm doing a high school game, I know what the rule differences are there compared to going and doing a youth game on the weekend. And so I really feel like I was able to back up my stuff. But there are also times where people think that they can just keep coming at you. So if the cards have to come out, sometimes they do. I also tend to have, I think, pretty thick skin, and I will let a coach express themselves a little bit until it gets to a point where it's not okay. I'm not a ref who's going to come out immediately and say like, "Hey coach, shut up right now," right off the bat, because then you've built an enemy. I'm here to officiate the game and make sure it's a positive environment for everyone. And so if I come off defensive right from the get-go, the coach is going to become even worse and be a pain for me the entire game. And so being able to kind of keep that nature, and I'll let them say what they want to say, and I'll walk over and very kindly have a conversation with them to explain myself and just kind of tell them where we're at to hopefully shut the situation down in a peaceful way.
Right. Again, great stuff. And in your previous little segment there. You outlined, I would dare say, a master class as far as the progression, you know, doing the youth games, those lower level games, junior high, age group, whatever, working into high school and then working into college, and also being able to, self-evaluate, hey, I don't know if I'm ready for this, elite level yet. But coaches, and again, I was a teacher and a coach and an AD for 41 years. I'm still involved. Um, and there's some great coaches out there, and there's some great officials out there. Um, I think many times when those problems can occur, it's just that perfect storm of, I don't want to say a veteran of a coach, but somebody who's been coaching for a few years and maybe thinks they know everything. And now they have a younger official, whether it's soccer, basketball, you name it. And they might make that, let's say the wrong call. We won't say a bad call. Um, I'm going to say two things, and then you tell me if you experience something like this. As an AD, well, as a young football coach, I was that knucklehead coach yelling at referees. Okay. I had to learn, in some cases, the hard way, Jake, just shut up. And I think the latter part of my football career, I did a much better job. As an AD, I would talk with our coaches and I would say, hey, we're a small private school. I was the AD at three small private schools in Florida. And they're all very, very good, very successful athletic schools. But I would let our coaches know, hey, we're not going to get, the top officials until we show that we deserve them. They're going to be going to the big, 5A, 6A public schools, where there's 3,000 people in the bleachers, not, 46 like at our school. Once we show that we deserve those officials, we're going to start to get them. And so I challenged, and my coaches did a very good job of this. I challenge our coaches to, when that call happens, when it's just the worst call ever, coach the kids. That's what I'm paying you to do. You coach the kids. Ball goes out of bounds. Clearly it's our ball, but they give it to the other team. Hey, let's get back on defense, set up the press, whatever it is. Okay. But we're going to coach our kids, and I'm going to build a good relationship with our officials association because you, as coaches, you're allowing me to. And whatever you do as a coach, the kids are going to follow your lead, and the parents, the fans, they're going to follow your lead. Oh gosh, coach didn't get upset over that call, and so that's how we tried to roll. Did we have the occasional hiccup? Of course. Okay. But we tried to control the things that we can control, and we can't control the officials. Okay. So were you, did you get to work in some environments, high school, club, et cetera, where you felt like, hey, these people understand, they get it?
Absolutely. I in Lynchburg, Virginia area, I had a mentor and referee assigner who he would tell us that if a coach ever had something to say to us, to tell them his name and walk away. And it was his problem to deal with. And I think having that, he very much separated, these are my officials, you are a coach. You do your job, they'll do their job. And that's that. And I really enjoyed, there were certain games that I was like, I love reffing this team because the coach, if he has a problem, he'll talk to me about it and we can move along. He's also not, he realizes the call's not changing. I've already made it. It's done with. But he just wants to learn and understand so that he can coach his players exactly like you're saying and educate them on like, hey, here's where maybe we were wrong and maybe the ref made a mistake, but we're all going to be better next time. And I really, really respected that. And I loved showing up and doing their games because I knew it was going to be a positive environment to be in and that he really cared about his players' development. They are young people. And I think it's important that we all are remembering that. And like you said, the coach's response is so important.
Right. And that's a message I share now with coaches, with ADs when I speak. I say building that relationship is so valuable because, and this is not why you do it, but when you do this, you've taken every 50-50 call and turned it into 51-49 in your favor. And that's not why
Yeah.
you do it. You do it because it's the right thing to do. Respect the official, teach your kids to respect the authority. It's just a nice little byproduct. The officials
Mhm.
love to come to our games. And so it's 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 that
Perform
secret.
better.
Yeah, it takes you a while to learn that. I remember at one of our school, actually at two of our schools, our school won the state sportsmanship award for the entire state, all levels, all schools, and I'm bragging about it on Facebook. And some of my high school and college teammates and buddies going, "Your school won the sportsmanship award? Do you remember that time?" So you learn. Hopefully, you grow. Well, Maddie, this has just been so cool spending some time with you, getting to know you a little bit. Appreciate you sharing with our listeners, but we're not done yet. We always wrap up with the athletic director's toolbox. Now, you're not an AD, but you work with ADs as an official. We're going to take our final break, hear from Athletic Surveys, who sponsored this segment. When we come back, I'm going to challenge you to send out a brand new either an athletic director or a brand new official, but I'm only going to let you put three tools in their toolbox to hopefully create that great relationship. So you can choose AD, what an AD should know about an official, or you can choose an official, what an official should do to work with that athletic director. But we're going to do that after our break. Let's hear from Athletic Surveys, and then we're going to find out what Maddie Hommey is going to put in her new athletic director official toolbox. We'll be right back. We want to say thank you to Athletic Surveys for sponsoring the AD Toolbox segment. You know, athletic directors already get feedback, but a lot of times it's from a very small group that just wants to complain. Athletic Surveys is going to connect you to that group so you can hear their concerns, but they're also going to connect you to the 98% that supports your program. And having that information, that data is incredibly valuable, especially when you're visiting with a frustrated parent or a frustrated student athlete, or maybe your principal or even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. Well, it's that time of the podcast. We've been visiting today with Maddie Hommey, tremendous background as an athlete, as a leader, as an official, and it's just getting started. She has her whole career ahead of her. But right now, I'm going to challenge her to add three more tools to our collection of tools in the AD toolbox. So, Maddie, what three tools are going to go into your new athletic director toolbox?
Thanks, Jake. And I know we talked about officiating and we talked about social media and marketing, and I mentioned maybe some tools that fall into play there, but I'm going to switch gears a little bit just because when I thought about this question, I really wanted to focus in on my career as a student athlete. I was involved in Division I National Student Athlete Advisory Committee, which lent itself for me to be involved on campus and in the Big South Conference with our athletic director and with our faculty athletic representatives and other individuals. And so I was really thinking about what did I learn from those experiences and what I want to be different. And so my three tools, first of all, would be to not forget the little people. I think communication is so, so important. And for an athletic director, we always want to focus on maybe basketball, maybe football, right? Those money-making sports at the college level and the ones that we get the most fans at the high school level. But I think you get your other teams, your cross country, your golf, your tennis, you get those teams to come support your big teams, the football, the basketball, by really feeding in and giving to everyone and making sure that everyone is happy and everyone's satisfied. We don't want to forget those little people sometimes. Not that they're little people, it's just the phrase. And my second tool, I think it's so important to not lose sight in the sports world of your family and life balance. I know for me, that was something I wanted to do everything. I was super involved. I had a lot of incredible experiences, but I also love my family, and it's really important for me to have work-life balance. And I think in sports, that can be a 24/7 job. And so to make sure you have clear boundaries and you set them aside for yourself so that you are refreshed and you're giving 100% to your family and to your work. And lastly, I think that I would say not to forget the traditions. So, keep those traditions in the toolbox because we're in an ever-changing world and everybody thinks we need to constantly adapt. And a lot of these tools that we have help us to be able to do that and help us be able to do things easier and more effectively. But there is some beauty in traditions and doing things the way that we maybe always have and keeping that, especially in schools, in sports, just to know that, hey, we have this foundation built and we're never going to get away from that, whether that's in processes and things that you do or just values that you uphold. I hope you never forget all of the traditions.
Boy, you probably saw me scribbling those down. I just love them all. The and again the little sports, those other sports. I remember when I became the athletic director at a new school, I would always make sure to, meet with all the coaches, but I'd go to those events, I'd go to the golf match, the tennis match, the swim. I had a school that had a swim team and I'd never had a swim team. So I'm at the first meet and the kids, the parents are going, we've never had the athletic director come, to our events. So very important. The traditions, you bet, those long-standing traditions. I was always a big fan of history. I try to find out the history of the school, and is there a tradition we need to bring back? And anytime somebody mentions family, let me tell you this: it's never a balance. Okay, it's not a balance, but it is, pick your favorite word, compromise, intentional timing, figure out ways so that you are spending the right amount of time, the quality time with the things that are most important. If it is an equal balance, guess what? You're not going to have that job anymore because the job does take so much time. But it's a great job. It's so rewarding. But you're absolutely right. Make sure you find time for the people that you care most about. Maddie, this has just been wonderful. Can't thank you enough for sharing with our visitors. Once again, if one of our listeners wants to reach out and pick your brain, and listeners, I think you got a great resource here. What's the best way that someone can get a hold of Maddie Hommey?
You can find me on LinkedIn and on social media at Maddie Hommey. It's Hommey. And you can also email me anytime at madisonhommey@gmail.com.
Okay. And you can find Maddie on LinkedIn. That's where we connected. Maddie, thanks again. All the best moving forward. And I'm looking forward to hopefully the next time we have you back on the podcast.
Thanks so much for having me, Jake.
For our listeners, we want to say thanks to you and remind you that we upload the Zoom recordings of every interview to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We do this just about every day. We try to share stories from the world of athletics and also some best practices. So come back and join us for the next episode of the Educational AD Podcast. Thanks again.